Today, we want to talk about the concept of consciousness and how it affects our life and how it can be transformed. Consciousness is very complex and broad. We could say that there are three attributes that determine consciousness, namely identity, perception, and manifestation. They determine each other. So, for instance, what I am identified with defines my field of perception, and this also will affect what manifests in my life. Or my field of perception affects how I define my identity, and this will also affect what manifests in my life. And also, everything that manifests in my life affects my identity and my field of perception. So we could say our life is the fruit of our state of consciousness. The state of consciousness is nothing static. When it changes, then our life changes. So if we are seeking something different, a different life, it is important to look at these 3 points: identity, perception, manifestation. There lies the key to transform consciousness and therefore our life. Every human being is a creator. Look at everything around us we have created to ensure our survival, our well-being, our comfort, and also all these non-material things such as the arts, philosophy, religion, and so on. Our creations manifest in the external world, but their origin lies within us. These are our thoughts, emotions, desires. Nothing in the external will be created without them first or coming first. Thoughts and emotions are electromagnetic energies. Our entire nervous system is actually like an extensive electrical network. And it also emits a certain kind of energy or radiation, which is directly related to the nature of our thoughts and our emotions. So the kind of thoughts or emotions that arise in us will determine the energy we are radiating. And these radiations have only a very low intensity. We would say, just imagine billions of human beings on Earth, and each one is generating their own energy. And this energy isn't just dissipating, but rather it's concentrating. So people with the same thought or emotion generate the same energy. And just think of the most diverse feelings and that are constantly generated, like worry, fear, jealousy, anger, you name it. Our entire planet is enveloped by these energy fields created by the billions of us people. And these fields, they become increasingly more powerful. Powerful in the sense of being able to influence people, to have certain feelings or thoughts. For example, if we are angry with someone, in this moment, our energy field of anger will resonate with the greater energy field of anger around us. And our own anger gets something like a boost from the energy field around us that isn't even ours. And the resulting actions then will in return strengthen this large energy field around us even more. So this is an example of the so-called negative emotions. But even there, if you take a closer look, those negative feelings, they are often merely ways of defending our identity when it is attacked. And you might ask, what about so-called positive emotions like love, kindness, compassion, pity? As long they are not expressed in a state of complete selflessness, without expecting anything in return, and this is, let's admit it, quite difficult, they are merely a more subtle way of strengthening our identity as I, our egocentricity. Aren't we constantly comparing ourselves with others, believing ourselves to be better or trying to be better? And this is always accompanied by or with subtle feelings of criticism and judgment. And even if it's only in our thoughts, it is always the same kind of energy field. So in reality, the negative and the positive emotions, they are actually two poles of the same problem. Both poles reinforce our identity as I, our egocentricity. They are like two sides of a magnet. They are interdependent of each other and they cannot be separated. It's like if you cut a magnet in half, you still have in each new piece those two poles, the positive and the negative. So from the perspective of our I identity, we attract one side and repel the other side. This is how life works for us. So this means when we reinforce one pole, what we call good, the other is also reinforced. It also gets stronger. The result of this is always conflict and polarization, both externally around us, but also within us internally. In this scenario, our perception of the world is one of separation, divided into good and bad. Look at the world around us, people around us, and even the news. We take sides, end up in conflict, might even break with certain people because my right and wrong or good and bad is not the same as your right and wrong and good and bad. We are born in this. The entire world around us functions like this. This is how we try to make sense of the world. Through identification with one side, I and the others, and therefore through separation and conflict. We don't know how to be different. This is our state of being. Through identification as I being, we are separated from the whole. What an unmasking it would be if we truly realized that our so-called good is actually just the other side of the same coin or the same magnet. Is everything in life merely a plaything of these two poles of positive and negative? You might ask, where is the true good? It must exist somewhere, but how to find it? Even in the scriptures, we can read that Jesus said, "Why do you call me good? No one is good except God alone." Hermes Trismegistus in ancient Egypt already said that the true good, the absolute good, one that has no counterpart of evil, exists beyond this light field, beyond this energy field that's created by humanity. The true good comes from the original energy field, the field of the spirit. It is the universal force of creation. Everything comes from this force. Everything is interpenetrated by this force of the spirit. So this field of the spirit is everywhere, but we cannot connect to it. We, in our state of being, are separated from the spirit, separated by our state of consciousness, by our identification as I being. So the big question here is, how can we connect to the field of the spirit? We cannot do it with our I, because the I can only exist by separation. And if I strive for what is good, this good is only the one side of the magnet, always connected to its opposite. Connecting to the true good is possible only with something that is not part of the I. The field of the spirit is always emanating a radiation that we could describe as a call that wants to make itself heard, that tries to reach us. We have a spark of the spirit in our heart, and this spark always calls us. The question is whether we hear it, if we become open for it. This is not so much an act of our will, as in, I want to connect to the spirit, but it is foremost a state of being, an openness of being, a fullness of experience and maturity of life. After countless experience of disappointments, disillusionment, shattered hopes, the understanding of the futility of everything becomes so deeply ingrained in us. And we become painfully aware of this game where we are player and plaything at the same time. And with this, the deep inner longing for something else becomes so overwhelmingly strong in us. We seek for the true good. And this longing is like a guide for us. We begin to inwardly withdraw from this duality and separation of the two poles of nature and turn our focus toward the center, where neutrality lies. Something deep within our being, at the core of our heart, begins to vibrate in resonance with the original energy field of the spirit, the unknown divine life field. And a new energy of a totally different nature begins to circulate within us, starting from our heart. It is the touch of the spirit coming from the spark of it in our heart. And this is the only aspect of us human beings that is not part of the world of separation. And therefore, it can connect to the original field of the spirit. This spark is imprisoned in us by the state of our consciousness that identifies itself with the I. It is within this energy of the spirit that we can recognize our true divine connection, that we are in our essence children of the absolute, the eternal, the one, that we are in our essence universal and unselfish beings. Only with this new energy coming from the heart, a new consciousness can develop by recreating the triangle of consciousness: identity, perception, manifestation. It is a complete change, a turnaround of our focus, away from the I and the identification with the I, towards the spark of the divine spirit within us. When we are focused or identify with the I, we are part of separation, we heard. We even strengthen it because we reinforce either the one or the other side of the pole or the magnet. When we begin to focus on the spirit spark, we connect to the divine unity. There is no separation in the divine spirit. And in the midst of all the struggles of our life, we begin to give more and more space to this other divine element within us, this calling voice within us. In this process, a new energy from our hearts ascends to the head as a light that is illuminating a new understanding and a new perception of ourselves and the world and the very meaning of life. In this light, a new kind of self-knowledge then takes root. It helps us to dismantle all our identifications, attachments, all our illusions. Then in our heart, something truly new can manifest, and also in our thoughts and in our actions. Then we are not amplifying separation and the chaotic opposites anymore. This is where the true good can be found. The good that has no counterpart in evil, as Hermes said. We could call it the true, unconditional, selfless love. And this is the beginning of the growth of a new consciousness within us, a new soul. Even though our familiar I consciousness is still there as well. This budding new consciousness then forms a connection with the divine aspect within us, and it will consequently have an effect on our life. It is the light of a new reality that begins to manifest in our lives. In this force and this light, we can overcome our I-centeredness. It is the liberation of our true being from the imprisonment of the I. In the beginning, we talked about the triangle of our consciousness, identity, perception, and manifestation, and how these aspects determine each other. So if we take it from there, if I begin to identify less with my I and more with the spark of the spirit within me, my field of perception of the world and myself will change, and therefore also what manifests in my life. Our state of consciousness determines our state of life. We are all called by the spark of the divine spirit in our heart to walk this path of transformation of consciousness, and therefore liberation of our true being. It is the path of return to our true home as children of the One. Thank you for your attention.